Hello everybody, this is Bale. Welcome back to the channel. Today I will be providing for you guys a lengthy survivor guide video for players who are a bit new to Dead by Daylight. This video is targeted towards survivor players who may or may not have a few hours invested in the game and want to learn more about its nuances. DBD is a fairly complicated game to learn, but gets easier with good practice and research. This video may also be beneficial to veteran players who simply want to brush up on how to survive effectively. If you enjoy the video and want to support my work, please like, comment, and subscribe. Now, let's get started. Tip number 1. Proper survivor etiquette. When one of your teammates is going to be inevitably hooked, try not to let them hit the struggle state off of their first hook. Reaching struggle while on the hook will harm a survivor's ability to impact the rest of a match. While on the topic of hook states, it's good to remember that survivors that are dead on hook are less obligated to play risky than others who are not. In a hypothetical situation where all three of your teammates are all dead on hook but you haven't even been hooked once, you should try to take the killer's aggro as much as possible. Even if you do end up getting put on the hook, as long as you make the killer chase you around for long enough, your teammates that are at risk of dying sooner will be able to complete generators and probably be able to help you out later on. The hook counter at the top left side of your screen gives you a good indicator of what needs to be happening first. If you unhook a survivor that's clearly dead on hook, and you're not dead on hook, you should probably heal them first, just because they're at a higher risk of dying if they get found while injured. If the killer is clearly occupied with somebody else, do not run away from the hook to heal. This wastes precious time and makes it so the chase that your teammates are trying to win will have been for nothing. When the exit gates are powered, do not open the exit gate preemptively. This triggers the endgame collapse, meaning that survivors will have a very limited amount of time to escape the trial before they are sacrificed instantaneously to the entity. You should only open the exit gate completely when you know that all four of your survivor teammates are able to escape the trial together. If you don't know that your teammates aren't currently being chased, it's better to 99% the exit gate, so that way it's ready to be opened the second all your teammates are ready to leave. Tip number 2. Understand what makes you stand out. In the game of Dead by Daylight, there are many ways that the killer can find you via indications. The most basic indication being scratch marks. Whenever you run, you leave behind a trail of scratch marks that lead the killer to your location. However, you should be aware that running along walls or through trees makes your scratch marks even more visible than usual. This is because your scratch marks will climb these vertical surfaces and be more visible to a killer from a distance. You should also be aware that completing generators is an innately loud task. As the generator nears its completion, it'll become louder and give off a lot of sparks. This will give the killer a good indication of how close you are to completing it and whether or not they should chase you. If you want to minimize any risk of a killer interrupting you while doing a generator, remember this fact. Completing a generator on the shorter side causes more sparks to fly due to the animation. This is more visible to killers from a distance because the majority of maps are very dark, and the bright lights that they can see from a distance are very distinct. Completing generators on the longer side is generally safer because of this. A personal tip that I've learned is to utilize the killer's terror radius in very specific ways. As you may already know, the killer's terror radius has 3 distinct stages. I have learned from experience that if you hear it change from stage 1 to stage 2 at a very fast pace, it means that the killer is most likely rapidly bearing down on your position. Use this early information to get to a pallet, try to hide, or leave the area entirely. Tip number 3. Game-changing conditions. Some perks and add-ons that the killer has may drastically change the style in which you and your teammates need to play. For example, Devour Hope and Noed are hex perks that take the utmost priority to find. Unless you are doing something equally important, you and your teammates must drop everything in order to find these respective totems. If the killer is clearly a Scratch Mirror Myers, be prepared. This killer will use hit and run tactics to pick off his targets one by one, usually on a pre-selected indoor map. Play near pallets and take advantage of his heavily reduced movement speed. He won't chase you for long if you're at a good safe pallet loop. If the killer has activated Blood Warden, do not stay inside the exit gate area. This will tip the killer off to your location and you'll be a sitting duck. Hide somewhere, or loop the killer until the Blood Warden disappears. You will inevitably run into a killer that chooses to face camp a survivor. In the event of this happening, you must rush the generators. As long as the survivor stays on the hook, the killer will not be able to pressure generators. This is the worst possible situation for a survivor to be stuck in, but the only real way to get revenge for them is to ensure that the killer is not able to kill your whole team with his cheesy tactics. Tip number 4. The first 90 seconds of the match are crucial. When you spawn into the trial, you may appear right next to a generator. This means that most likely you spawned as far away from the killer as possible, but that doesn't mean that you're safe. The killer will often choose to patrol the generators that he spawned furthest away from. While this does grant an opportunity to rush out a generator, the killer has a strong chance of finding you early on in the trial because of it. It takes about 80 seconds to complete a generator. Your team should theoretically be able to complete 1 to 3 generators in the first 90 seconds of the trial before somebody is downed. This is the time when generators are going to be the most accessible. Later on in the trial, there may be multiple survivors hooked, or the whole team could be scrambling to find one of the previously mentioned game-changing totems. At this point, gen progress may come to a grinding halt, and you'll be glad you rushed out a few generators early. Remember, the killer can only chase one survivor at a time. If you are not being chased, you and your teammates must split up on generators in order to gain an early advantage. Tip number 5. Death may be the only outcome. When playing Dead by Daylight, remember that there will be situations that are just out of your control. No matter how well or optimally you may perform, the trial may still end with you being sacrificed. Maybe you pissed off the killer too much with your looping skills, and now Bub is camping you in the basement with Insidious. The majority of the time, it will be because your teammates played poorly and couldn't really win in chases. However, the beauty of this game is that dying isn't even that big of a deal. Yes, you may depip and get sent back to a lower rank, but there isn't any real point in being at the higher ranks to begin with. You don't get any rewards for finishing the season at rank 1, so don't feel too bad if you don't always make it out of a trial. Anyways, that's going to be the end of my video on how to improve at Survivor. If you found the video interesting, please like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.